What do you think, at least in your opinion, did the introduction of trans fats to the diet do basically to the health of the society?
Yeah, it wasn't a bright spot of our history, and really, you can't blame. It's hard people want to create conspiracy theories and big food and big pharma and this and that, and there's conversations to be had there, but this was part of that industrialized movement. Culture was changing. People had TV dinners. They were eating canned foods, boxed foods. Stores wanted things that were convenient, cost effective for their customers. And trans fats, they help products succeed on all those levels. It's synthetic, so it's cheaper to produce. Anytime you can synthetically make something, it's cheaper to produce because there's no middleman of pulling it and resourcing it from somewhere else. And from what they knew at the time, it wasn't harmful. It didn't seem to be causing issues. But as we know now, trans fats are sort of another perfect storm in terms of heart disease risk, because they not only raise your LDL or your bad cholesterol, but they also lower your good cholesterol, your HDL, simultaneously. And hands down, they're correlated with higher risk of heart disease, but also been linked to potential risk of cancers, weight control issues, those sorts of things. So we luckily, it took us again a century, of really grappling around this with research, but luckily, I think recently the FDA moved to ban them completely. Back in the early 2000s, they succeeded in labeling, where they were forced to label trans fats. But again, if they had less than 2 grams per serving, they were able to list 0 trans fats. And so consumers had to learn to look for the partially hydrogenated oil or the fully hydrogenated oils. And that process is what creates these trans fats, which are sort of new to nature. Our body doesn't know what to do with them. And I mention that because there are some natural trans fats. When you look at what are called ruminant animals, your goats, your cows, they have different digestive system of fermentation, of converting the grass and so forth into fuel. And out of that process, they actually create some natural trans fats, one of them being conjugated linoleic acid, CLA, which if you look at a pasture-based butter or product like that, it actually has a more golden yellow look to it, and it's because of the higher levels of CLA, which is a naturally occurring trans fat. And although it still may disrupt your lipids, your cholesterol levels the same, there actually been some positive studies on CLA as to weight balance and inflammation and so forth. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's not something I would lead with a patient or anything like that, but it does it's that synthetics, the commercialization, it's the profit motive of having products last longer on the shelves with something that you can synthetically produce, as opposed to coconut trees in Thailand or Philippines and that sort of thing.